Hey y'all, it's Lindsey, and I have a simple, quick tip for you regarding those pseudo sous vide eggs that I made a couple of months ago. A few months back, I did a very short video showing you a pseudo sous vide recipe in my Instant Pot, and it was for sous vide eggs, those Starbucks egg bites. They're so good, but I kind of left y'all hanging at the end of that video. And I also noticed that every time I would make these eggs, I would wind up with more of a souffle texture, which was the opposite of what I was going for. The taste was good, the texture was off. So I've played around with it a little bit, and I have figured out something that works really well for me, and I thought I would just share it with you so that way you could try it out and see if it works well for you as well. That was a lot of well and for yous in one sentence. Sorry. Before I get into my tip, I would love it if you would subscribe if you haven't already. I make content like this with the Instant Pot. I do a lot of Trim Healthy Mama videos. I do Wellness Wednesdays where I sort of just give you honest talks about where I am in my health and wellness experience. And I also sometimes throw in some homeschooling stuff, but that's kind of been on the back burner for sharing here lately. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to join me here. For my tip, I use my Ninja blender, which is right back here, and I blend up the ingredients for this sous vide egg mixture. I've got the recipe. I'm going to link that in my iCards for what I shared. I will also link the recipe that I made in the description box below. But basically, you're gonna blend up your ingredients, and I've done this yesterday, and that is my big tip. Whenever you go to make these pseudo sous vide eggs, make sure that you blend up the egg mixture and leave it in your refrigerator overnight. What'll happen is the egg mixture will just sort of settle in and all of the air bubbles will float to the surface, and you can avoid having those mixed into your egg mixture whenever you're actually pouring it into your egg mold, into your little silicone baking muffin liners, or I use mason jars, the little 4-ounce mason jars. That is my number one tip. Also, making sure that you put your mix-ins halfway through pouring your batter in and then maybe putting a few things on top is really, really helpful for the structure of these egg bites, in my opinion. I've made these a lot where I've just added cheese, and that's okay. It's not the best in my opinion. And adding in a little bit of meat really helps these to kind of have a little more body to them. And I don't have any bacon on hand today, but I have got chicken sausages that I have stripped the casing off of and browned up as I was, kind of breaking it up into bite-sized pieces. So now I'm gonna show you how I make these pseudo sous vide eggs. My eggs are now out of my Instant Pot. I've dumped them out of my little jars, and this is my next tip. With my Ball branded little tiny 4-ounce jars here, this is a clean one. This is one of the completely smooth Ball jars that are marketed as baby food containers. They usually only come in a 4-pack and with the plastic lids. Yes, I think they come with the plastic lids. These are more expensive than the 12-pack of these guys that are designed more for jelly jars. These have the like the pattern on the outside of them. I've discovered that with these jelly jars that come in the 12-pack, it's a lot more difficult to get the sous vide eggs out of the jar. Let me show you some evidence. Here is one of those quilted looking jars, and I've still got this much egg left in here. So it does not come out as cleanly from these jars. So tip number 1 was to make the egg mixture the day before you're actually going to cook the sous vide eggs. Second tip, use perfectly smooth containers as your jars if you're gonna use glass mason jars in your Instant Pot so that they come out more cleanly. And my third tip is to let these set up overnight in the fridge after they're baked or cooked, pressure cooked, sous vide'd, whatever. If you let them sit in the refrigerator overnight, they get even more dense and more compact, and they just taste more like what you would find at Starbucks with those egg bites. I want to try one of these for you, but they are piping hot, so let me work that out. While we're at it, I want to show you the texture of these guys. So this one came out cleanly. It's very dense, very heavy for what it is. It's got the little concave on the bottom just from the shape of the jar. And the top is a little bit more souffle-like, but in the refrigerator, that firms up really nicely. This other one right here, there we go, now you can actually see it. This is one that came out of the quilted style jars. My battery died and I didn't realize that the footage had stopped recording. So I talked forever and there's nothing to show for it. And I've already eaten them. And I have to tell you, these are so good, so good. I'll show you this little guy. So here we are again. And they've gotten more dense as they have cooled. The ones that were in the quilted style jars do not come out very easily in my experience. Ultimately, the 3 tips that I have are: 1, make your mixture the night before. 2, make sure to use some sort of add-ins to give the sous vide eggs body and make sure that they're not just kind of like air fluffed upon air. 3, use smooth-sided jars if you're using the mason jars. My 4th tip, actually, that I haven't said yet, is that you should let these set up overnight in the refrigerator or let these cool completely, because something magical happens to them whenever they are left to cool completely or in the refrigerator. They just become even more dense. Like, they're very dense whenever they come out of the Instant Pot, but then they just, over time, become more and more like hockey pucks, which I feel like that's sort of one of the telltale signs of those sous vide eggs from Starbucks. Sorry, I'm at a loss for words here, people. So just one of those telltale signs is they're super smooth, super creamy, and very, very dense. Those are my tips. I've also got it in my mind that I would like to try this out with egg whites and maybe ground turkey and possibly some spinach, and instead of adding the heavy cream, maybe just doing a splash of the half and half and bumping up the cottage cheese a little bit. And all of those little minor alterations to this recipe could potentially put this in a fuel pull setting or possibly an E setting with Trim Healthy Mama. And I have it in my mind that it would be a perfect protein source for an E breakfast alongside of some Bam cake or those chocolate covered cherry muffins, which are amazing if you haven't tried those. So I can see this working out really, really well as a grab and go breakfast that you could prep in the beginning of the week, grab a handful of them, like 2 or 3 of them to take with you on the go, and just have an excellent source of protein that's not just a hard-boiled egg, not just like a muffin, but it's got good protein. It just, my mind is running wild with all the ideas. I thank you so much for joining me on this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.